Hey guys, I just wanted to show you how I prepare most of my sermons that are coming completely from scratch. In other words, some sermons might come from a book, might come from a biblical verse by verse story out of the Bible. Um, Other times they're more topical, and so they're more vague, and you're pulling text from multiple different parts of the Bible instead of just one section. So I want to show you just in a few minutes here exactly how I do that. This week is week 2 of our sermon series called Family Circus, and this week is specifically about being a kid, how God calls us to be children. Not children of God necessarily, but this week we're focusing on how God is calling us to be godly children of our earthly parents. So I don't have a specific story out of the Bible that I'm going to be focusing on. I'll be getting text from Psalms and Proverbs and other parts in the New Testament. But when I have a vague kind of topic driven sermon, this is how I prepare. Okay, literally, what I do is I get a blank piece of paper and a pen, which is not that odd or groundbreaking type of study. I understand that, but I also get a color assortment of pens and markers and highlighters. And what I want to do first is I want to just write down everything on this blank piece of paper, exactly what's coming out in my mind, in my heart. And I do it in a very visual, graphic type of way. And I'm not focusing on the skill of my artwork. I'm just completely focusing on illustrating thoughts and concepts in a graphical sort of way. And I know it seems weird, like why do you need to draw something out? Well, researchers have shown that when you draw things out, it helps develop them in your mind, and it also helps you retain them. So later on, you're able to remember them a lot better if you actually draw them out in a landscape. So let's see how that looks. Okay, so I already have this concept that, and we're basing on last week where we had these stages of parenthood, where parents were a certain, we called it, they were first a commander, then a coach, then counselor, and all that. We're going to take that same premise this week, but reverse it and make it from the kids up. What's the kid's responsibility from the time they're born till the time their parents die? A kid's life changes, and their responsibilities from their parents and toward their parents change from the time that they're a baby till the time their parents die. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw a little person here and say, wah, they're a baby. And then I'm going to draw a teenager. And this guy's going to have kind of like a little smirk on his face. He's kind of ticked because he's a teenager. Then we have a young adult. They're out of the house. And then a grown man with his wife. And he's happily married. And then the final stage, I'm gonna have the same guy. He's still an adult. He's still married. All right, and he now has parents that are elderly and not physically capable as they once were back in these years. So I have these stages of parenting. And what I want to do is I'm drawing these out. I'm visually seeing how these people change from baby to the time they're adults and their parents are getting elderly. And then over here, obviously this section would be where their parents have passed away. So their role as a biological son or daughter is over at that point. And at this point, they're just parents and grandparents themselves. So this is the beginning. I start here. I go to Scripture now, and I find in the text where Scripture applies to each one of these levels. Okay, here we are. I've developed a whole lot more on my little worksheet here. You can see my people starting from infants, teens, college, married, older couple, and then here's where your parents have deceased. Well, first thing I did was I went through Scripture, and I used several different resources for that online. One is openbible.info. Also use YouVersion and blueletterbible.com. Also, quite honestly, the best search engine for scriptures is Google. And then Google will probably lead you to Open Bible or YouVersion. So what I did under each character was I put scriptures that relate to that phase of life. So the original commandment from God, Exodus 20, talks about honoring your father and mother. Proverbs 3, 1 through 2 talks about honoring your parents. And Timothy 5, 5 and 8, 5 and 4, actually 5, 4 through 8, actually, it talks about taking care of your parents when they're older, and widows and elderly parents, taking care of them. And then scriptures down here kind of are summary scriptures for the whole thing. So Ephesians 6, 1 through 3 talks about that. As I was going through all these, as you're going through scripture and you're going through your text and all that, you get ideas that just pop into your head. And so that's why I'll write these notes like this notes up here. 2 very important questions that I know some people in our congregation are going to ask while I'm preaching this sermon. One of those is, what about unsaved parents? How should I honor unsaved parents? And then what about step parents? How do I honor step parents? So as I'm studying and I'm doing all this research and thinking about it, thoughts come to mind, I jot them down. And that way I have it on here and I've got it so I don't forget. This down here was a thought that came to me, and this is probably one of the central themes that's going to be a part of the sermon, which when you watch this video, most of you have already seen the sermon, so you're going to know how this all came out. I don't, as I'm recording it, I don't know how it's going to come out. But this concept right here, the more you receive, the more you submit. So when you're a child over here, you're receiving a whole lot from your parents, so your submission to your parents is 100%. The older you get, the less you receive from your parents in the form of oversight, financial support, all that. So there's a shifting that happens from the time you're born to the time your parents die of the submission that you have. The more you receive down here, the more you submit 100%. As you get up in age and you grow up, I put grow up right there, you become responsible for yourself, and your relationship with your parents change. They don't support you financially anymore. You support yourself, and so there's a shift in how much say they have over you because you're your own person now. Then the older they get, and the more you take care of them, the more they need to respect and honor you for the decisions you're making for them. So anyway, that's just a little sermon preview. That concept is illustrated all down here. I illustrated that concept. So this shows you kind of a diagram of how the whole sermon is going to work.